from a well-known journalist for the state newspaper, and that is the record. That's the paper of record in South Carolina, covers state politics in the state capital. So these people are well aware of Miss South Carolina's past, shall we say, exploits in the state.
So he's fully compromised. I mean, if he comes out of the closet, then he wouldn't be as dangerous. We're not attacking him because he's gay. We're attacking him because they can blackmail him with the information.
And he's a hypocrite because he has sponsored a lot of anti-gay legislation. But the major thing is, if he does come out, he's of course not going to be not only will he not be elected president or get the Republican nomination, he probably won't win a seat again if he runs for re-election from South Carolina. So this is the dilemma that he faces because of his total hypocrisy.
Well, I mean, he thinks he's going to attack Rand Paul, and we're not going to attack him right back. He's got another thing coming. We're committed to this fight. We know he's a dangerous person. We know he represents a dangerous mafia. And yes, everybody should recognize we have huevos the size of, bowling balls to even be talking about these issues. But it's time it all comes down. It's time the House of Cards comes down. It's time that all of them, Boehner, all of them that are compromised. I know you've studied Boehner, and I know he's tied in with Hastert and the rest of that jolly crowd. What's the dirt they've got on Boehner? I mean, when he's doing stuff that's 87% unpopular, like TPP with his crew, with his state constituency, I mean, they got to have something big on old Boehner. I know he famously handed out tobacco company checks on the floor of the House in the 90s that was illegal, basically, and then claimed it was legal. But, I mean, what else do they have on this guy, the Speaker of the House?
Well, I don't want to talk about his drinking because we've had very successful members of Congress in the past who were also alcoholics. So you can't use that. That can't be used as any sort of negative when you talk about the past. And many of these were, they may have been drunks, but they were also statesmen. We talk about former House Speaker Carl Albert and Senate Minority Leader Everett Dirks and then Senate Majority Leader Mike Mansfield. Now, some of them, of course, were in Alcoholics Anonymous, but they got the job done. So, yes, of course, Boehner is known as pretty much a lush,
a fish.
Basically, he's they call him Mr. Merlot. He likes his red wine, and but I think when you talk about Boehner, you got to talk about the lobbying. Apparently, there was talk about him having an extramarital affair with a top lobbyist some years ago. So, yes, there is a taint of scandal there, but and I really think that Boehner did not want to serve another term in Congress. Apparently, he's been promised some big job. He wants to move to Florida. He bought a big house in Florida, so clearly he's looking at retirement.
He wants to cash in on the looting of America.
Yeah, and so he can buy the best Merlot after he's retired.
And play golf all day. So it sounds like his greatest crime then in the club is he's not a pedophile, because it seems like you got to be a pedophile to be up at the top these days.
Right. I think he's very useful to some people, but I think he's a rather aloof speaker. We have to really look at his staff, senior staff members, and that would be as speaker. He has his own staff as speaker. They're separate from his staff where he represents his district in Ohio. And also, you got to look at some of the committee chairs that he's appointed to these top committees. So I think the problem with Boehner is his relative aloofness and from the day-to-day matters, and but I'm not going to hold the drinking against him, because, as I say, we've had in the past.
Well, we'd be hypocrites then too. So let's just get real.
Yeah, right, exactly, and but I really want to say that in answer to my question, Senator Paul said, when I asked him, I said, who specifically in the Saudi government, because of the and I think King Salman, as Governor Riyadh, his name is all over the 28 pages. And he said he'd have to get that information. He couldn't recall who that official was. But the word I got today was that the reason this bill has been totally unsuccessful in getting more Senate support is because the Bush family is putting direct pressure on Mitch McConnell. And we know that, he's the other senator from Kentucky, and ostensibly, Rand Paul and McConnell they have a sort of a mutual supportive relationship politically, and both Republicans from the same state, but that the Bush family and the oil companies and the Saudi lobbyists and the Saudi embassy here is really putting a full court press on making sure.
Sure. Well, for those that don't know, you broke it at the time. It was then in the Miami Herald. It was in the London Guardian. The Bushes were at a Carlyle Group contractor breakfast that morning in D.C. at the bin Laden table. George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 41, was there eating with them when the attacks took place. They were allowed to all fly out of the country when air traffic was grounded. So they don't want this whole Bush-Saudi connection being opened up. And I think, knowing Rand Paul, in his speech, that was a little bit of a backhanded. He's probably been threatened by the Saudis. That was a backhanded threat, probably, that, oh, and I know you want this released. Like you know, oh, you really want us to serve a search warrant on you. It's kind of a, I think it was more of a snarky remark.
Right, it could have been. I mean, he also said that he's talked about the bipartisan support from various committees, current and former committee chairs, former intelligence agency officials have urged this report, these 28 pages, to be released. But Senator Graham, former Senator Graham, held up another document.
Let's talk about that document when we come back. And I want to get the latest on the giant gerbil, Dennis Hastert. And your purchase of PrisonPlanet.tv members allows us to have full-time professional journalists. McBreen worked for Scripps Howard News Service and others. Wayne Madsen's worked for a bunch of big mainline institutions, famous author, written for you name it. We've got all these other great reporters here as well that have worked in TV and radio, and we're hiring more people. I plan to hire about 3 more camera people, maybe 2 or 3 more reporters, investigative journalists, 2 or 3 more writers, and then that's it. I don't tend to grow any more because it's a lot to manage, but we just need to be able to have 2 crews be in different places at one time and still have a crew here to do reports in Austin and in studio. And I've basically got 2 crews right now, but when holidays come up, I got 1 crew. So it's a balancing act. Your support financially is what is allowing it, and for me to be able to hammer out a deal to have Wayne Madsen come to work full-time. That's 5 days a week with us as an investigative journalist. And some of the stuff he's got planned is muy dangerous. It's dangerous because it's important. I mean, we're not playing games here, is what I'm saying. I'm not going to go up against the globalists and do it with my mittens on. The gloves are off. We want a free country. We're not going to be enslaved. Fortune favors the bold. To quote John Paul Jones, founder of the U.S. Navy, I have only begun to fight. And that's what it comes down to. So thank you all for being PrisonPlanet.tv members and visiting InfoWarsStore.com. All right, Wayne, we got about 3 or 4 minutes left before this segment ends. You said that Senator Graham, who was heavily involved in the 9/11 investigation, you name it, he's read the 28 pages that shows Saudi Arabia was heavily involved. Our government helped cover it up. That's bombshell right there. He had another document, Wayne Madsen.
Yes, Senator Graham held up another document from the Treasury Department. It was a classified document, and it was about a Saudi organization with strong ties to the Saudi government that funded al-Qaeda and obviously funded some of the hijackers. This document was, he showed us the document. It was probably about 90 to 100 pages in length. And he flipped through every page, and every single page was blacked out. There wasn't one item there that was left open for public view. So he's urged that document as well to be released by the Treasury Department.
Does this scare the real perpetrators of 9/11?
I think when you, from what I understand from people who read the 28 pages, it's not so much what it says in the text. It may be what's in the footnotes and reference material is cited. And think of it as an onion. And when you start peeling back the onion, you get down to different layers, and it opens up, different avenues for investigation. And that's obviously what the intelligence agencies and the Bush family, and I say Bush family, we got to think of their extended family, the Dick Cheneys, the Donald Rumsfelds, and whatnot. don't want this information to see the light of day, nor do the oil companies, and they're so tied in with them that, of course, have this relationship with the Saudi government.
In closing, Wayne, what are they going to do when this ends up coming out, or it's already basically out? Defense intelligence says our government's running Al-Qaeda. What are they going to do?
Well, it's going to, I think, show people that we're lied to on a daily basis. And
Wayne, hold on. Back at 60. We'll do 5 more minutes and let you get back to reporting. He's up there on Capitol Hill right now.
Thank you for listening.
They also are having an event at the National Press Club. That's how I got that confused. But this was at the Senate press area. We'll be back. On the former Senator Bob Graham, who wasn't on the 9/11 Commission. Why was I saying that? I get confused. So many names, they all mix together. With this whole Saudi connection coming out, other points that you were about to add to that, and where do you see all this going? Because obviously folks in the military are upset if Defense Intelligence leaked last week, and this was confirmed to be a real leak, that indeed the Army said we're ordered to fund Al-Qaeda, fund the Salafists, which is Al-Qaeda as well, basically ISIS. I mean, this really shows that why they're scared of leaks.
Yes, and then we just had a revelation from the State Department. They admitted that the former head of the Tajikistan Special Forces, trained by Blackwater on a State Department contract, is now a top field commander for ISIS. So here we have yet another factoid that indicates that the ISIS is a construct of Western intelligence. The Saudis.
How do they think they're going to get away with this?
Well, I think the fact is that we're seeing more and more of these revelations, and they're being confirmed by the agencies. Of course, the Defense Intelligence Agency tried to worm its way out of that report that you mentioned about that it was the policy to create a Salafist principality in Syria and Iraq to bring down Bashar Assad, and ultimately the Iraqi government, which is allied, has very close ties with Iran. But I don't think we see the resistance now from the agencies. There's people that want to get the truth out.
That's really, I mean, that's what your job was, internal security at the NSA. But, I mean, we see them going after folks like William Binney and Drake and others. But you've talked about how they spend a lot of their time now just spying on people in government. But it's not going to work when more and more people just start leaking. They can't stop everybody. We could see leaks at any time that could bring down the globalists. I think that's why they want to have an internet kill switch and things like that.
Well, I think we're seeing more people going through more documents like the DIA report and, whatever the document was, it indicated, yes, this guy from Tajikistan, the head of their special forces, was in fact trained by Blackwater. I think people are getting smart on how to go through these documents, whether they're as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request or they're from other sources. So I think we're getting better at what we're doing.
And it's beyond the spin of, sure, we created Saddam, then he turned on us, or we created bin Laden, then he turned on us. No. They are funding these groups whole cloth now and commanding them to engage in war crimes to destabilize the world, then attack the West so they can legitimize the police state. And, this is a dead duck politically. It's not going to fly, in my view.
Right. And we had families there today at this press conference. I should mention that one young boy, who was 14 years old, was 4 days old when his father was killed on 9/11. So the daughter of one of the victims said, "We are the children of 9/11." They made a personal appeal to President Obama to release the 28 pages so they can at least have some closure. They say they don't trust their government anymore, and that's a theme we heard. We, the children of 9/11, do not trust our own government.
All right, Wayne Madsen, great job. WayneMadsenReport.com. Be talking to you more in the next few days about official capacity here at InfoWars. But welcome to the team, buddy.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, there goes Wayne Madsen reporting from Capitol Hill. You can hear the reporters chattering in the background. I've got a few words to say about a house of cards when we come back on the other side. I know I'm not talking about the HBO television show or Netflix or whatever it is. No, I mean the real House of Cards. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones. You're listening to the GCN Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, we are broadcasting worldwide now, well into the third hour.